So today's video, I'm going to cover 5 things that I wish I would have known before, during the first couple of years of being in the service. This video is going to pretty much, and it can help, every service member. These first couple of topics are going to be mostly specific to the Navy. Go ahead and give this video a like, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's get on with the video. So the first thing on the list is going to be a bank account. Coming into boot camp, I already had one bank account back home, back in South Carolina, although I shipped and depped out of Washington State. Now because of this, Washington did not have the bank that I had at home. So a lot of times I had issues if there was, for some reason, something that I needed the actual physical location of the bank for. That became the issue. Still to this day, I still have that bank that I started my beginning of my service with. But while I was at boot camp, they offer us Navy Federal. So for us in the Navy, they offer us Navy Federal for obvious reasons. Mind if you're Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, National Guard, highly recommended for everyone, not just for the Navy and for the sailors. Reason being is because of their actual locations are near and outside and by a lot of the military installations all around the world. And if their actual branches are not there, then they have ATMs in a lot of our military installations or near or by our military installations, which your bank from back home may not have that. Coming into boot camp, you're going to have some type of bank account, whether it's one that you're going to use as you come in or one that you grab while you're in boot camp, because you're going to receive your paycheck electronically. With Navy Fed, I have had certificates, I've had savings accounts, money market accounts, CDs. So with Navy Fed, it is a credit union, so a lot of things that other banks offer cannot be as good as Navy Fed. Because Navy Fed is a credit union, meaning that a lot of the money that it occurs is from its actual members. So a lot of things that it tries to do is more member-based. Obviously, it's still a business, but it just seems to have better rates, better communication, and they tend to help us out a lot more than what I have seen from other banks. But if you're interested in signing up for Navy Fed accounts, or if you're just interested in some of the information, it will be down in the description box. Again, everybody in every branch of service, highly recommend opening up an account just so that you have a Navy Fed account and you have a branch near your installation. So the second thing is going to be TSP. So I had no clue what TSP was. A lot of people in boot camp had no clue what TSP was. We just knew they were trying to take more money from the little bit of paycheck that we were getting in boot camp. With this being said, start your TSP. Whenever we start a TSP, it starts with 1% in boot camp, 1% in the G Fund. I left it at 1% in the G Fund. I knew that it was started, and I didn't think anything else about it until I was about to leave Cuba to go on deployment. Leaving Cuba, saving up money, I knew that there was money sitting in my accounts, and what did I need to do before I deployed? How can I make the money that I had saved up work for me, grow more? Can I invest it in anything, or is it something I should be buying? I just felt like there was money sitting there and it should be doing something else. So I went to, luckily on base, they provided a financial counselor that can give some guidance, and since I was pretty much fresh into the military, I had a little bit of money saved before the military. Being in the military for now 2 years, by the time I left Cuba, I had more money saved up. That is pretty much all that I had, is just money saving, money sitting around. So talking to the advisor and the TSP, first thing I had to do was get all of the information so I could log on to it. When you go through boot camp, they put it into the G Fund. The G Fund is very, very, very slow moving, and honestly, if 100% of your funds are going into G Fund, you should have a return, but it's not going to be anything significant. You probably will not have enough money to pull to even buy a used car. I highly recommend starting your TSP at boot camp. Just go ahead, 1% G Fund, whatever that it's automatically set up to, go ahead and just start it. That money is going to be taken out of your paycheck, and it's only a little bit. It's going to be taken out of your paycheck every month, and it will go there and it will be invested. And once you go to your first command, or once you get out of boot camp, if you're going to A school, go ahead and start logging on to your TSP. Log on to it and see how you can set up your TSP. Mine is in the life cycles or lifestyle funds, which it pretty much, when I set it up to be in a very, very risky type of piece of the pie. And then as I continue my service, so as my time continues and me being in the Navy, that pie is going to change to a more reserved and a more secured. So at the very beginning, from day one, for the first couple of years, it was it was in very risky stocks, very risky plays. And automatically it was set up to adjust itself to be more secured and kind of like put itself back into like a G fund type of status as it gets to the end of my career or into that ending year that it was set for. With that being said, just start your TSP at boot camp, and then once you leave boot camp, A school, first command, don't forget it. Set it up so that it will work for you as you are in the service. And if you can, bump up your percentage that you're investing into it. And you can do that either on TSP or you can do it on My Pay. So there's a section on My Pay that you can do that. A lot of people that I met on the ship, years and years after I had already gotten into the service, even to this day, I still meet people that are in the service that have not started their TSP because they didn't know what it was. Your TSP is pretty much the government investing your money, or the TSP system is investing the little bit of money that you give to them, they're investing it for you. Now, later on, once you access your TSP account, you can invest your own money or you can set it up for them to invest it for you. But your money, that little bit of money that you put aside in there, you're not going to know about it because it's going to go straight from your paycheck into TSP and the rest of your paycheck is going to go to you. Third thing that I wish I would have known before joining the military is how much you actually get paid. For some reason, I had in my mind that once I got into the military, which I was making okay money outside the military, but obviously as you get older, more bills, more of life starts to hit you. That money you were making before the military isn't that substantial in comparison to all the benefits and all that you can get while you're in the service. Your first paycheck at boot camp, that it hits you really quick, like, oh, maybe I messed up, because you see people that are married, people that have kids, people that are in different locations, because all of those factor into how much that you're going to get paid every month. So if you start comparing with everybody else's paycheck to your paycheck, you're going to realize real quick that you're probably making way less than everybody else. Because if you're in the same position that I was coming in, you're single, not married, no kids, no dependents, and it is literally just you. Starting as E1 to E3, even E4, you're not making a lot of money, and that is the whole reason why they give us BAH. That's the reason why they give us BAS, because that helps offset so that it's not taken from the bulk chunk. If you see somebody in the military that's doing pretty well for themselves, that's not struggling, that's paying all of their bills and still has money to the side, that's because they're saving money. They are also not spending a lot of money on going to concerts, going out to eat all the time, and they're not buying the coolest, newest thing all of the time. Now, later on in your career, once you get a couple of deployments under you, maybe you do some C rotation, so then you get a little bit of C pay. So there's a little bit of incentives depending on the job that you choose and the location that you're in. Being stationed in Cuba, you get a little bit of hazard duty pay. And that changes if you're on different platforms. If you're on a ship, if you're on a sub, you get C pay. Sometimes you'll get hazard duty pay depending on the area that your ship is in. So yeah, there's a lot of different factors that go into your overall paycheck. But just know, once you join the service, you're not going to have this insane amount of money, but you will consistently get paid every single month. So the fourth thing that I wish I would have known is going to be your credit score. Coming into the military, I did not have any debts. I did not have any bills that affect your credit score. And that actually kind of hindered me until I got to Cuba. I had no clue what the credit score was. I've heard of it before, but I didn't know how important it could have been. Did not know how it was going to impact the things that I do now. And with that being said, when I was in Cuba, meeting that financial advisor that helped me set up TSP, told me how to improve my credit score. So improve my credit score, I actually did it, the very first way that I did it was purchasing and I say purchase because you have to put a little bit of money down. It was like $100. You put a little bit down into the credit Capital One new repairing credit card. And pretty much that's a secured card, is pretty much what it's labeled under. You give them $100, they gave either a $500 or $700 credit limit, and that way they don't know if they can trust you yet because your credit score is either very, very low or you have no credit score. So what I did is I would use that once a month, twice a month, a couple times a month, but every single time that I used it, every single time I would pay it off. I would only buy gas food, or if we went to the NEX, I would buy groceries. But exactly what I was going to already buy with my debit card, I would use the credit card and I would pay it off immediately. And this bumped up my credit score. It woke my credit score up. Second thing that I did that was advised to me was to do a shared savings loan with Navy Fed. Shared savings of $1,000 is what I started out with. Pretty much states I don't need this money, but I'm going to give you guys, you know, whatever the percentage rate of this was over the 12-month period, for you to open up an account, put $1,000 in it, and it's just going to pay itself back and forth from my checking account, from this loan account. So I never touched that $1,000. It just sat there, and then over time, it just kept being paid whatever that balance was. After that 12-month period, it only cost me $10 to borrow $1,000 because it was considered a shared savings loan. And that increased my credit score tremendously in that 12-month period, because that is showing now that you've established credit. You have a credit line. Same thing with a credit card. To this day, I still have that same credit card. So credit score, very, very important, because once you start getting into your career, once you start moving out of the barracks, once you start looking for vehicles, you're going to need to try to compete with the lowest that you can of percentage rates. Make sure that you start your credit early. It is very, very important. Right out of boot camp, don't go buy cars, don't go buy jewelry, don't go buy all this crazy stuff with a little bit of money that you start your career with. Save as much as you can and look at, do I have a credit card? Don't go out and get any and every credit card and max it out. But after you use that credit card, pay it off. All right, so the fifth and final thing that I wish I would have known before I went to boot camp is military life can be, and I would say military life is expensive. So growing up, we did a lot of moving, right? Growing up, Mom took care of my brother and I. Then once my brother left, it was my mom and I. So we did a lot of moving around. We moved around 6, 7+ times. Until I graduated high school. So every time you move around, you end up losing things, breaking things, and it becomes very costly because you have to put down payments into places. It's never plug and play, right? So you have to rent box trucks, you have to ask people to help you, you have to pay them, you have to feed them. Sometimes you have to buy all kinds of stuff. So with the military, every 3 years, there is a possibility that you will be moving. It is very important to have money saved, because a lot of times the military does not give you money ahead of time for whatever it's going to cost you. And they may give you a little bit ahead of time, but that's not going to always cover all of the costs. Or like say whenever you are here for these things, you're buying and you're spending a lot of times for going out to eat your food. So these past 2 weeks, being in Chuk, being in Guam, being in Ponape, you still have to pay out of pocket for your foods, for your snacks, if you need to wash clothes, right? So there's going to be a lot of things that are not always going to be in your normal budget as a service member, because you're going to be bouncing around. You're going to need uniform items. Uniform items are very expensive. That's not counting any of the other patches that you need sewn on, if you need to get it dry cleaned. The things that you're going to be required to always have, you're going to be looked at to always be ready to purchase. If changes happen, you're not always going to get that money ahead of time, fund whatever that you're required to do at that moment. But with that being said, these are the 5 things that I think will help you out no matter what branch of service that you're going into, that I wish I would have known before I went to boot camp. Now that I'm in, my first couple of years in the service. And so if this video helped you guys out, if you learned anything, if this kind of gave you a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of education of like, I didn't think about that, give this video a like. If I missed anything, or if you think there's some other things that should be in this video, go ahead and put those down in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.